It's been said before, and I'll say it again. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So where would you rather be than right here and right now on the Ralph Rant? Let's go.
Welcome to the Ralph Rant, your source for hard-hitting Buffalo Bills takes. Now, here's your host of the Ralph Rant, that veteran watcher of generations of Bills teams, the prophet who predicted Josh Allen's greatness, that opinionated so-and-so you've walked out on parties because of, the Ralph.
Welcome to the Ralph Rant. Good morning. It is game day. Welcome in. I think we've got the stream going on both spots here. Yeah, we're on YouTube and on X or Twitter if you choose. Grab your coffee, guys. It's early. It's cold here. And you know where else it's cold? It's cold in New England because we've got some updated weather forecasts for you here today. But here's to everyone. Good morning. Bills game day. Bills at Foxborough, at Gillette Stadium to face that team we love to hate, the New England Patriots. And I've got to tell you, we did the video the other night, Thursday, I think it got out, where I gave my 10 reasons that I believe the Bills will win this contest today. We'll go over some of those again. Have to say that huge response to the video. I was shocked at it. And what a great outpouring of new subs we've got in the house. And also a great outpouring of scorn from various Patriots fans who don't believe what the Ralph says about this game today. In fact, I've gotten pushback that says the Bills could possibly lose by multiple touchdowns. I don't know about that. So, but you understand how, people get kind of squirrely here when it gets close to game time. But good morning here. Let's see, we're in. A couple guys in the house. We're gathering up here. It is the morning. Black Cloud is in the house, I believe. Making sure the audio is good to go this time around. Yes, we had some audio fun the other night. Experimentation that I don't wish to repeat. And indeed, if you can't hear me this morning, maybe you don't want to hear me, but if you're trying to and can't, let me know. I will be watching the comments. Yeah, the coffee is good. Fresh ground. Put that machine on the bold setting. A little bit of half and half. Talk that up. So what do we got for these newsy items here this morning as we get started on our game day? One is interesting that came up yesterday that it has to do with Josh Allen, not really with wins and losses, but indeed Josh Allen is 4 scores away from 300 total regular season touchdowns. If he does it within the next 9 games, he will have gotten there faster than anyone else in NFL history. So that's what you're facing today, Patriots. That's what you're facing. That's what's coming into your building. And it is December. I think a lot of folks took an awful lot from that earlier game and are now just expecting the Patriots even to sweep the Bills. And December is a different time for the Buffalo Bills. Now, I'm going to re-update the weather for you and then get to some of these questions and comments. We had been talking about snow at Gillette Stadium that was going to be starting like after 3 a.m. this morning and then ending by 9 a.m. The forecast has changed because, the Bills are in town. The forecast today is now snow mainly before 3 p.m. with a high near 31, northwest wind 3 to 8 miles per hour, so there's no talk of gusts. Chance of precipitation is 100%. New snow accumulation of 1 to 2 inches possible. So essentially what we're looking at is a very similar situation to what the Bills had last week at the Ralph, which is kind of this snow globe sort of game with a temperature around 30 degrees. And apparently it's snowing already. And in fact, I can check here on the fabulous My Radar app on the phone, and I'm going to go over and see what's going on this minute, as we are some 2 hours and 52 minutes from kickoff. Panning over here to the northeast. Yep, and it's definitely snow coming through. It looks like the snow bands are perhaps slightly south. I don't have the stadium marked specifically here, but definitely a large area of snow coming across, and seems to be a little bit heavier with a band that's passed through there and now is actually south of Long Island and starting to get actually go right past Cape Cod now. But definitely snowing at the stadium. I don't think it's anything severe in terms of accumulation, but in terms of the magical snow globe situation, the Buffalo Bills have been there and done that and bought the T-shirt, and the Patriots haven't, since they snuck their way into their first Super Bowl with the famous tuck rule call in the snowstorm against the Raiders. And John Madden is turning over in his grave about that, even at this point. So, who do we got in the house here this morning? Jacob Spears is in here. Go Bills, indeed. With a "Let's Go Buffalo." And if your singing voice is up to it this early in the morning, go for it. Hey, I think I'm a little bit low in pitch there, but tonally it was okay. And the question of the day from Jacob Spears here is, Christian Benford good to play today? We do not yet know. I'm going to stick with you here probably right until about 11:30, so we get the inactives, which we get 90 minutes before kickoff. However, well, here's the news bit right here. Dane Jackson has been elevated, and that is probably not a promising sign for Christian Benford. Now, that situation transpired yesterday with the elevation of Dane Jackson. So it hasn't been done last minute. So either they know they're going to need him and it's they got it done early, or it's just sort of an insurance policy. But yeah, they're calling it an insurance policy in this quick report, but that was off of X last evening. I think that might have been Joe Biscaglia I saw that report from. So yeah, Dane Jackson is up. And my only other really note here for this morning on new stuff that is a consideration for today. We know Joey Bosa is good to go from what we heard. He was a full participant the other day. Don't know if they'll have him on any kind of a pitch count with that hamstring. But I have to say, though, that Greg Rousseau needs to become the Raptor. We've made references to Jurassic Park before on the show and talking about how the Bills' hive mind is sort of checking the failure modes, like checking the fences in different spots to see where weaknesses are, like the Raptors did in the description of the game warden on Jurassic Park. Well, Greg Rousseau needs to become a Raptor. Grow that claw, rip open the abdomens of Patriots linemen or running backs or whomever might want to stand in his way so he can make Drake May maybe not. And that's necessary for the Bills. This pass rush needs to come together. It needs to work in concert with the defensive backfield. And this will be interesting because the Bills really had 1 week ago today a hell of a training session for this game by sparring with the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki, for that matter. This week, we're talking about Drake May, Stephon Diggs, Matt Collins, Hunter Henry. It's not the same situation between those. And there actually have been some Patriots comments. I've gotten a ton of comments on the video from Thursday night, but some of them have been interesting and some forthright. And then others, I can't believe the trouble some guys went to craft their own 10 reasons why the Bills wouldn't win. And I just appreciate that so much because they must have a ton of respect for the Ralph Rant if they're going to go ahead and spend all that time to put up a comment on why they think their team will win today. But I've given you my reasons, and I'll probably go over them again here as we go along. Let's see who else is in here. You are not full screen on my TV. Well, we're broadcasting on HD, so it'd be 1080 1080p, which is 1920 by 1080. So I'm not sure why that is the case. I've got the vertical version showing here on screen also, but as long as you can hear, that's cool. That was from Jeff. You're not full screen. I'm assuming you mean it's like smaller than the entire screen, so we're like that rather than like that, if that's what you mean. Black Cloud is indicating the mic sounds good today. Well, the mic sounded great the other day. It was actually, unfortunately, it was a glitch to start the show, but then I used the mute button as a cough button, and you can hear what happened in the recording. I cough, and then it stops. So I thought I'd hit it, and then you'd hit it again to unmute. Well, I never hit it the first time, so when I hit it the second time, I muted. I'm sure it was a lesson well learned. CJ, hello, 72. Hello. Well, good morning to you. Oh, and hi, and go Bills. All right, I love it. Absolutely. So like I said, we're going to wait around and see what those inactives are, but we'll get through these comments here and keep up with them today. Made ribs for the game today. Going to my neighbor's house to watch the game. Awesomeness. And tell me where you're coming from, Black Cloud, if you're around in Bills country or elsewhere. And sorry, no cough button today. Being careful with that. We had a dinner party here last night. You know, my Sicilian wife, she made her spaghetti sauce. Started, Friday night. Was up till 2 a.m. Making meatballs. Almost chokes me up thinking about how good it was. And, of course, there's the meatballs, there's the sausage. She also has spare ribs in her sauce. And then it simmers all night in the stove. Then we had a great crew of folks over here last night who actually aren't even really interested in football. But, boy, they come over and they eat. We drink. We have a great time. Have a little bit of gift exchange. And then off they went. And to bed I went to get up and talk to you guys this morning. Black Cloud here. I wonder what defense will show up today to start with. The second half defense right away or the first half defense all game? Well, if you've heard me or not heard me when I've explained this on the last time around, I believe that the Bills play a little bit of a rope-a-dope with their defensive situation. We've seen it in the last 3 ball games, Houston included. Now, of course, it was a tough day for the offense versus Houston, 8 sacks of Josh Allen. You got the hell beat out of him. But the truth is that on the defensive side, in the second half, Bills limited them to 3 points. There were at least a couple of punts and a turnover on downs or something of that nature. But the point is that the first half and second half difference is like a night and day change. And then versus the Steelers was the same thing. Buffalo allows the early touch after giving up the ball there deep in their own end. I believe that was after the James Cook fumble. And that was it then. And then in the second half, the Buffalo completely came down on that and made the change and limited them to 0 points and very little production in the second half of the game. Now, last week versus the Bengals, sort of the same thing. We had the Bengals being, I think, converting like 7 or 8 or 8 of 9 third downs in that first half. And then, Buffalo with a couple of problems themselves, of course, hanging on to the ball in the first half. But then in the second half, the Bills again dropped the hammer. And, of course, that's dropping the hammer on Joe Burrow and those receivers we mentioned. So, yes, they did score somewhat. But I've also talked about the hive mind I think the Bills have. And, of course, many teams I'm sure do. But the Bills, to the extent that they have a core and a unit that's been there and has done this for so long, and now are faced today with defending their AFC East championship title at the home of the team that's trying to take it from them today. So this is a big day for the Bills, and I believe the Bills are going to be ready to handle it. But I think this business of the defense needs to be brought up more, which is, to me, for example, like Muhammad Ali used to do early in his fights. It was called rope-a-dope, in a sense. He would get into the ring and actually lull his opponent into the notion that the opponent was going to be successful because the opponent would come out, start to do his thing, and you wouldn't see a counter from Ali right away. In fact, he would even allow that opponent to get a little bit comfortable in what they were trying to accomplish, or what he was trying to accomplish in defending himself. And I think Sean McDermott has done this. He's getting into games with the defense, and it's not a matter of allowing, that's the wrong word, the team to do what they want, but I think it's a matter of actually plying the opponent, the opposing offense, this is McDermott talking, basically plying them with sort of a basic defense that would allow the opponent to go ahead and execute what they're trying to execute to start the game, and in fact, even allow them to grow a degree of comfort in doing that. And because if you could do that, and coaches are, especially offensive coaches, if they get a feel that they are having success doing something in particular and are allowed to do it for a while, there's that word again, but I'll use it. And then in the second half, when the Bills defense comes out and just shuts it down, there seems to be a difficulty on the part of those opposing offenses and the offensive coordinators in making their own adjustments to come off of that, because you had the situation, well, this was working earlier. Why is it not working now? See, that cough button can actually work if you're looking at the signal coming through. So that was pretty funny when I discovered what happened the other night with that audio situation. But I believe that's what goes on with the Bills. But yes, you wonder what defense will show up to start with, and will they have some pass rush pressure? Will Greg Rousseau kind of wake up and become what we think he needs to be? I mean, the Bills got rid of sort of the notion of having the speedy, bendy defensive edges that can get around tackles, and these are now compression style players, but they're big dudes, and they need to be able to win on the edge, and then inside pressure also against any Josh McDaniels offense will be important. So we'll see if the Bills can muster that also. Our defense is bipolar. Yes, that's a way to put it. That's a way to put it. Daniel Pregel's in now. Coffee and Bills live chat. Love it. Yeah, raise the cups, guys. You know, I used to do the porcelain or ceramic coffee cups. This is actually an old martini shaker, and it's got sort of the thicker walls. And I became a huge fan of these large metal flagons to contain one's coffee. Keeps it warm forever. I've got the studio ice cold, as should be for any Buffalo Bills podcast. And this keeps the coffee warm, though. So here's to you. Drink up that coffee. We are approaching here, of course. We're getting closer. We're now at about 2 hours and 36 minutes from kickoff. The only thing with the tall cups, you can't let it go back too fast because the coffee, when it goes back to the bottom, can kind of splash and get you in the face. Not a great look on camera. So we'll try to avoid that. But yeah, enjoy that coffee. The last Pats game was a fluke. Well, you know, 3 turnovers and really in quick succession. And it, especially like the very first one, the very first turnover, when we saw Joe Brady try to run this, and I used the word cute in my postgame show. I was shocked then to hear Sean McDermott use the same game in his postgame presser after that game. I never really listened to any content or Bills interviews or anything like that before I do my postgame, because I just want to have it straight from what I think and not be really influenced or swayed by what I might hear. But I was shocked when I heard him say cute. And of course, we're referring to the jet sweep or end around, if you want to use the old fashioned term, that was being run to Dawson Knox. And Knox fumbles the ball. We're talking a complete unforced error. And then it's recovered by the Patriots. And then you had another fumble from Keon Coleman shortly after, and that was deep. So you're going to give up 3 turnovers in a game. It's going to be a problem for you. So I know the Bills will have their minds on that today, but even with the 3 turnovers, that's what you have to consider. The fact is that the Bills still just lost by 4 points in that game. And again, in their other loss to what I would consider a good team that they were playing in the form of Houston, is the fact that there was, the 8 sacks and some of the turnovers there. But again, the Bills still were very close to be able to win that ball game at the very end. Billy the Buffalo is here with us. Thank you for joining us. I know it's tough for you to get away from your duties at the stadium, but nice to have you here. Game day. Let's go Buffalo. Indeed. Indeed. Let's get it on. Daniel Pregel. And, let's see. Wrong button. There we go. Jay, 17, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception today. Well, we'll see. We'll see about the interception. Take the 3 tutties for sure. That's for sure. So we got Let's Go Buffalo, Daniel Pregel. Let's go Buffalo. Hard white 7-1-6. So you're in the zone. That's the Bills. That's Bills country for sure. And again, if you are new here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video, do shares on it. And if you want to go back and catch up with what I had to say, it's a quick 17.5-minute video that pissed a lot of Patriots fans off when I pronounced why the Bills would win today. And we'll get into those reasons. Again, I'm going to run through them. Billy the Buffalo saying Josh Allen is going to go up today, MVP. Yeah, we've got playoff Josh, and I think the Bills get into a mode at this time of year, and that was one of my points, and I'll bring it up when we get into it, that at this juncture, at this part of the season, you're wanting to start getting to a point where you're starting to peak as a team. And you've seen it often. There's teams that peak early and then it falls off. The season is a marathon, not a sprint. And with the type of emotional fortitude and intensity required to win a football game, it's extremely difficult to try to maintain that week in and week out to start. It's impossible. These guys are human. Some people will say, well, they're paid all that money. Yeah, the money doesn't enter into it in terms of being able to get motivated like that. Um, it's about the emotional intensity. Game starts at 1:00, indeed. Kickoff very shortly thereafter. And I'm going to go ahead and mention right now, in terms of my post game tonight. And I just learned before showtime that what time I could probably be able to do a post game. The situation is that Taylor Salty, who you've seen on the show with me here, my daughter, she has her directing debut down in Detroit today, and that will be at 4 p.m. So I'm going to be watching probably the first half and a bit of the third quarter of the game here at the Ralph House, and then have to switch to a device to continue watching the game on the trip down to Detroit. Her affair starts at 4 p.m. If the Bills run the ball down the Patriots' throat all day and the game ends early, just as fine. I will catch the rest of the game, but normally I would be on for the post game, 4:15, 4:30, whatever, maybe 20 minutes after the end of the game. In this case tonight, probably will be looking at something more like 7:15 for the post game. I'll get it scheduled, but that looks like it's going to be possible based on what we've got for schedule today. And where are we here? Black Cloud, he's in Lancaster. I'm in Lancaster, New York, and I absolutely hate it here. Too much talk about on here, but it's not very friendly towards, if you get my drift. I cannot wait to move out of this hellhole. Well, are you talking about like it seems sometimes, and it local opinions of fans can be tougher. If you want to find the real Debbie Downers, you go to perhaps like some of WGR's call-in shows and hear people worrying and moaning about this and that. The Debbie Downer syndrome is a tough one. And when someone is called a Debbie Downer, someone once got mad and said, well, why are you using a girl's name? No, it's not a girl's name. Yes, Debbie is a girl's name, but the actual meaning of Debbie, Debbie, it's an acronym, guys. It's an acronym, just like any other, multiple letter word that stands for something. And in this case, it's pretty easy to figure out what it is. It is Drought Enhanced Buffalo Bills Insecurity Effect. We have a lot of people, and, frankly, the guys that are on WGR who have been there for years and years and years. You had Howard and Jeremy in the morning. Howard is retired, but Jeremy White is still on there now with his new partner. And then you've got Mike Shope and the Bulldog, Chris Parker. He's goes by Bulldog, of course. And these guys have done radio on the Bills throughout the entire drought, and I think they've been affected by it. And it becomes difficult to start to believe in the team. And they also get a lot of folks, that like to call in and worry. And we'll have to, talk more about that. But there's something called the law of attractions, and us all believing actually makes a difference. Continuing here, John Gruden spoke about wanting back into coaching in the NFL. He might return to the Raiders. Tom Brady is making personnel decisions on that. Gruden said this on the Derek Carr show. Derek Carr, of all people, because that was the Raiders quarterback. I would be interested in if this season was going the other direction, and we won't talk about it now, but if there was a coaching change ever in mind, it would be interesting to see what John Gruden would do as an offensive coach and working with Josh Allen. Paul Chandler's here with us. Let's go, Buffalo. Smackdown on the way. Talk that up, brother. Talk it up. Anwar Noorji. Hello, gang. Listening from North Buffalo. Dig your video takes. Thank you very much, Justin Lowe. Appreciate you being in the house this early on this Sunday morning. Well, it's not that early. We're 10:30. In fact, we are, what, now just 56 minutes away from the inactives. And that's going to be critical because we're going to be wondering if Christian Benford is on that list or not. We need some pressure from our front. Don't let May just sit back and get comfortable. And somebody please crack the snot out of Diggs. Well, we're going to get into those 10 reasons again because you're bringing up some of these points that are pertinent here. And I'm actually going to let me see if I can get those located here. No, that was the other one. Let me see here. Oh, wrong folder. Wrong folder here. Here we go. And speaking of that one, reason number 4, counting down from 10 to 1. So this was like the fourth best reason. And that's the fact that this is not the same Buffalo Bills defense. And in fact, these teams are both quite different. And I've got that covered in a couple of points. But back in week 5, we had Cole Bishop paired with Taylor Rapp in the safety spots. Taylor Rapp was playing hurt, and that we discovered, as we went along, he actually injured himself in the preseason and carried that injury into the regular season. But not only was Rapp playing hurt, but and maybe because of his injury, there just did not seem to be the sort of teaming up and partnering up with his other safety. And of course, if you want to know what I'm talking about, the model of that obviously is Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer and what they presented for the Bills 4 years. Well, exit Taylor Rapp with the injury, enter Jordan Poyer, who took a stint down in Miami and is back home now with the Bills. But somehow, some way, his working with Cole Bishop actually allowed this situation to improve its safety. And Cole Bishop basically has gone from, looking lost in the preseason and early on to now he's a hammer. And the light just comes on. He's extremely athletic, of course. He's fast and he can hit. We saw the smackdown he put on Travis Kelce Swift and down in the end zone, I believe, on that incompletion when the Bills hosted the Chiefs. We've seen other instances of it. And I think, to your point, Cole Bishop is going to be out hunting Stephon Diggs today. And the other thing to remember about Diggs is, he's great earlier in the season when it's warmer. But later in the season, stuff gets tougher for him. We recall the pass he dropped right in his hands at the end of the playoff game with the Chiefs a couple of years ago. That was the last attempt made to him as a Buffalo Bill, I believe. And, you got to make that catch. Consequently, the Bills end up driving down to try to get a field goal, which they miss and don't tie the game. That's the winning touchdown right in Diggs' hands. So Diggs, I don't know, doesn't respond as well in the colder temperatures. And to wit, he's actually though, had a good start to his season. He's been held to under 60 receiving yards in the last 4 games. And he's going to be playing mostly cold weather games on the way out here with the Patriots. All right. DVSS venue. You know, ever since YouTube changed these handles to these coded things, it's tough because it might be people who I actually know. I had my brother came in on the podcast one day, and I'm like, it's familiar how he's talking. And I should have figured it out more quickly, but I did. But good morning to you. Good morning to you. I have to get ready for church. I subscribe. Thank you, Jacob Spears. I appreciate it. And speaking of subscribers, I must say it was quite fascinating to see what happened with that video the other day. We went from about, we've gathered almost 200 subscribers since Thursday, and that is essentially taking me up to about 1,220 now. So very much appreciated and cherished, in fact. But the response to the video has been, I'm still amazed at how many hits that video from Thursday is getting, and we're coming up to game time here, and we're at 5,100 views on that video. So, and that was the 10 reasons that the Bills will win this game. There's a high, Paul. If Pats hit like the Giants game, I don't know if the Bills are going to like it. We'll see. We'll see. That was the Giants, though. I'm usually pretty nervous, but I'm feeling good about today, God willing, because if they don't win today, I have bad feelings about even making the postseason if they don't. And, you know, I wouldn't worry so much about that. I don't really get that feeling. The Bills, starting last week, prior to the kickoff with the Bengals, had 5 games remaining, and they basically needed to go 3-2 in those games in order to get to 11 wins. 11 wins gets you in the playoffs. And you could have an entire podcast discussing where more importance lies in this game. And on one hand, you could say it's the Bills because the Bills need to gather those wins in order to assure a postseason berth with 11 wins. On the other half, you could say there's pressure on New England to try to win this ball game, to try to create a sweep of the Bills, and to win the AFC East in the process. And numerically, there's probably more pressure on the Bills just to get the numbers. But, of course, the Patriots are also trying to vie for the number 1 seed. The thing is, though, with the Patriots on the way out is they've got 2 division games to close this out. And, in fact, I want to get what their remaining schedule is up here at some point. But they've got the Bills, and they have then to check who they have next week. Let's just look at it. Look for it right now. Well, you won't find it there. You're going to search for a video. Let's do it the correct way. So here's their schedule, and what have they got at the end here? We're, of course, at week 15 with them hosting Buffalo. Yes, they're at the Ravens next week. So that's another cold weather game, Northeast. And then they'll be at the Jets, another cold weather game. And then I had them switched, actually. They're hosting Miami in the final game of the season. Now, the Dolphins, as we know, started out rough this season. There was questions about how long Mike McDaniel would last. Of course, they ended up firing Chris Greer, and the very week they did that, they beat the hell out of Buffalo down at Joe Robbie Stadium, or the stadium formerly named Joe Robbie. And that sort of started a streak for them. And they have been winning some ball games. And the Dolphins have looked much better. They've got a good running game. And if you don't think that Miami, especially having been beat by the Patriots down in Miami earlier in the season, don't have it in mind to try to spoil something for the Patriots. Yeah, I mean, that's coming. And I believe Miami can give them a game. And the fact that they're actually ending up with 2 division games in a row is interesting. And I know the first one is versus the Jets. Oh yeah, they'll crush the Jets. I mean, the Bills have the Jets at the end of the season themselves for the last regular season game at the Ralph. But division games are different. They are different. And the Bills still have a possibility of winning the number 1 seed. And they certainly have a possibility of winning the division. So this is like what did Rocky say at the end of the movie? Nothing is over. What's up with the phone screen video today? I don't know. I actually had a showing vertical, and I'm not sure what the vertical looks like. I guess I'm off center a little bit in the vertical. I don't know. Now we're going to add me back to the stage. That would help. All right, Black Cloud is here. I haven't listened to WGR all this week after the last couple of wins. It's just doom and gloom talk. I had to turn them off for a while. It gets too depressing hearing people bitch about wins. Well, there seems to be something about the local situation that affects people with it. And I sometimes even get that when I was visiting there last weekend in Bills country and going to the game where they hosted the Bengals. And, it's tough when people are local. Sometimes they a little bit tougher on themselves, a little bit too much worry, but be of good heart. This is going to be fine today. I knew Patriots fans were here. You guys are clowns. Yeah. Well, they certainly have jumped me on my channel on my 10 reasons, and I'm going to recite those again here. What do you think the offense will be today? Run heavy or pass heavy or balance? They had tons of success when they keep Cook out there on third downs instead of sit him after second downs. Well, I know they'd like to get Cook going today. You've got a different situation on the Patriots defensive line than that which the Bills faced back in week 5 on October 5th. And that's the fact that Milton Williams is on injured reserve now. And in fact, it's 2 spots, one on each of their defensive line and offensive line, the Patriots that is, that are you have to wonder and question. Because not only is Milton Williams their stalwart defensive tackle, of course, Philadelphia Eagle, world champion, Super Bowl champion last season, signed in free agency. He's on IR. And then likewise, the case with Will Campbell, their first pick in the draft, who has been playing left tackle and would, I believe he said, would defend Drake May to the death, which is great. But you can't defend somebody to the death if you're on IR. So the Patriots are missing 2 line greats, for their team. And I think the fact that Milton Williams is out is one thing. But then you've also got 2 other situations, injury-wise, on the Patriots that are of note. The first is that Harold Landry the third, who edge, outside linebacker, whatever designation you want to create for that. Excuse me. He's actually dealing with a knee injury that he suffered a couple of weeks ago, and he was limited earlier this week, and they had him as a full participant. I think the next day that may have been a walkthrough, though, for the Patriots. But there is something going on there with Harold Landry. And then during the week, Robert Spillane, their linebacker, who is very active, good in coverage, good against the run, so forth, came up with a foot injury and is perhaps questionable today. That's a difference on their defense. And you know, and we're also in December now. It's going to be a different situation than it was before. But I think the Bills offense certainly ought to be able to get the zone run going today. And then, you know, you've got the safety situation is not the same as it was for the Patriots either. If he gets out to the second level, I think he's going to get some good run today, good yardage. Good morning, Steve. Woke is joke. And, you know, I've been found out my name is actually Steve. And if you've watched the show, a lot of people would call me Ralph. And you can go through every second of the videos or any live shows or whatever. I've never revert. Can I speak? More coffee, please. I've never referred to myself as Ralph. I am the Ralph. My real name is Steve Salter, and I've been a Bills fan all my life. But thanks very much. Post game, yeah, woke as joke. I talked about that earlier. Just as a reminder, I normally go on right after the game. I've got a commitment to go down and check out Taylor Salty in one of her performances. It's actually her directing debut this afternoon. In fact, I'm having to watch the game, first half or so here, then go on to Device and go down to Detroit to catch the rest of it. Her affair starts at 4 p.m. If the Bills run it down the Patriots' throat all day, the game might even be over by then. You know, fewer penalties, fewer clock stoppages. Last time this happened was last season that I had to do this before I had the show, but nonetheless, there was a musical down there. Theater people don't respect football. I mean, last season they actually had a show scheduled when the Super Bowl got started. They actually moved that show up a few hours, so there wouldn't be that conflict. But that goes at 4 o'clock. We're going to be getting out of there about 6. I imagine I'm going to be able to do the post game somewhere around starting at 7:15, and that works out great. So we're in and out of here by 8:15 in order to be able to catch Sunday Night Football. Chris is in the house, 14210. Sounds like a zip to me. Go Bills, indeed. Paul Chandler, Poyer helped the Bishop out a lot. And if they can get Savage on board, he is pretty good. Oh, you live in D.C.? Interesting. Okay. Excuse me. Darnell Savage is very interesting. And anytime you get a defensive back in here that came in as a good prospect, but then fell on hard times with other teams, it's often not because they couldn't perform in the NFL, but there's so much to the coaching aspect of this game. And McDermott, if he's anything, is the master of working with defensive backs. So that would be interesting to see him do something. Diggs is sugar water. There you go. Bogus joke. I have to admit, I thought Bishop was going to be a bust. He has progressed really nicely. It seems every week we need at least one guy to have an all-star performance. Who will it be this week? Well, maybe to be a few of them. Of course, division game, Bills on the road. They're defending their AFC East crown. This is not going to be the rivalry uniform game on a fairly decent October evening wearing uniforms about ice. Good Lord. Bills, of course, will be in their road unis today, white jerseys with the blue pants. Black Cloud, I agree. Some of these guys, although I appreciate the candidness, are too negative. They aren't going to be league beaters every year. Everybody gets paid, that's for sure. Jeff is here. Please like and subscribe and recruit your friends. Grow the Ralph rant. Get merch going, Steven. Can you do your rant on when we are going to do the fundamentals? McDermott, I love that. Yeah, right. And what he's referring to there is after some loss a few weeks ago, it was Sean McDermott afterwards, and it just comes down to fundamentals. And I was like, you've had them for like 9 games. When are they going to learn these fundamentals? When? Right. So that's what he's referring to. But thank you very much for that support. Thanks everyone for the support of the channel. Boy, we got a bunch in the house now. I haven't been looking at the numbers. 36 happening on YouTube, and we got another 20 over on X sitting in and watching. We hit also. Oh, that's coming from that Giants comment. Ricky Flores is in the house. I'm from deep South Texas, and I've been I think he meant a Bills fan. I don't think he's been a buy anything. But, he might be. I mean, everybody's welcome here, man. Thanks, Ralph. I didn't even look at it that way. I'm not sure what that was in reference to, but nonetheless, thank you. I think I know from earlier, but I'm getting through comments and coffee and got to keep it up on both. Oh, and not a buy, a Bills fan for 35 years. I kind of figured it was that. I've been a Bills fan for a very long time. Also, in fact, I was born within days of the formation of the team. And remember the early days listening to Van Miller on the Hi-Fi calling the games when you had such greats as Bobby Burnett, Albert Golden Wheels Dubenion, and of course Cookie Gilchrist. Now we can kind of bring back Cookie saying again, looky, looky, here comes Cookie. Man. No, I was not smoking cigars last night. It's just early. Super cold here too, which is approaching everyone east of us here. Question, you think we should have kept Edmonds instead of Milano? It's hard to say. Edmonds actually is hurt here at the end of the year. And I think people thought Edmonds underperformed a bit, but he was really young with the Bills. I won't say it's so much about Edmonds itself, but what your question really does point to is the style of linebacker the Bills are employing. And quite frankly, as long as Terrell Bernard is on the bench or limited, you keep Shaq Thompson out there. Shaq Thompson is a thumper linebacker, and that is what is necessary, I believe, in today's NFL. You cannot get away with these smaller framed guys that are perhaps sideline to sideline speed, but you've got to be able to trigger and do run fits and not miss tackles and really punish some people for coming through. I mean, we've seen that with definitely is the case with Shaq Thompson. And, perhaps Bernard might be, better in the Milano style role as the will linebacker, weak side linebacker, as it were, if the Bills are running the 2 linebacker sets as opposed to being in the middle. Lax King is in the house. My boy Gavin is a huge Bills fan, but his girlfriend won't let him drink beers today. Give my boy a shout out. Well, why? Is he operating heavy equipment? Well, nonetheless, yeah, I try to stay away from that myself, especially earlier in the game, but now anymore at all. Perhaps just a little small Godfather glass of wine when it comes time to sit and do a post game, but probably not even that tonight. But thanks for being in the house, and definitely appreciate everybody stopping by here on this cold morning. This game comes down to coaching. Brady has to step up, and McDermott, no bonehead timeouts. Well, that hopefully will be the case. Tory 71 here with us, and McDermott was very aggressive last week in his coaching, going for it on fourth down and three or four attempts, making good on it. And then as far as how the Bills, perform, they have to craft what they're going to do to what the Patriots want to offer. But I don't think that the Patriots have quite the run-stopping situation going on with the fact that Milton Williams is not part of this defensive line for the Patriots as he was last time. And, for that matter, of course, the other defensive questions they also have in terms of injuries. So I believe that we're going to see a different kind of ball game here today than we did before. Bills off the top rope, 35, Pats 10. Talk that up. I'll take that all day. Jets game could possibly be the last game played there ever. Depends on today's outcome, really. This game means more than most people realize. And it really does. It does. And not just in terms of how it's going to shake out this season, but also in terms of the Patriots trying to, reclaim something in the division after a few sorry years and discovering that it wasn't Bill Belichick. It was just Tom Brady who left the Patriots and won a Super Bowl elsewhere. Ouch. Ralph Rand, best Bills show, period. He understands our pain. Yes, I do, because it is our pain. It is our pain. But the fact that pain builds up and so forth and has really been unrequited, not quenching that thirst for the championship, that just makes it more special. And if you think that's the case with us, think about the Buffalo Bills themselves, especially with the core of this team that's been through this for 6 seasons now of playoff exits and trying to get back to the Super Bowl. And I've always kind of believed that I think there's energies that exist within the game that go from season to season, era to era, and so forth. And this energy with the Bills and the want of that championship, and with how this team, with Josh Allen being who he is at this point, maybe the fact that the Bills lost the 4 in a row, that loss of 4 Super Bowls, perhaps creates a situation where there's a big weight to get off you in order to get back and win another one. And who knows how it will go. Perhaps it would be the fact this season, and it's possible still, on one extreme, the Bills end up with the number 1 seed based on how things fall into place. The Bills win all of their contests remaining and get the help that they need, and having that path to go hopefully to the Super Bowl. Or maybe it's the other way around, and you are a wild card and you're on the road every game. This would be similar to what the New York Giants in 2007 did. 2008 Super Bowl comes along. They had gone and played the Giants, that is, road games. You remember the great icy game in Green Bay where they were victorious, were the New York Giants, and then they end up facing the up till then undefeated New England Patriots, the Brady Patriots, and everybody remembers that Super Bowl, the helmet catch, the amazing other plays that occurred, and they knock off the undefeated Patriots, do the Giants, having come from a complete road path. I don't know which path it's supposed to be, but I'm just counting on the Bills doing their best, doing what we know they can, and getting there. And it would be, and why wouldn't it be strange? Why wouldn't it be a situation of, well, people are saying this is not the best Bills team we've seen over the past few seasons because they're talking about, roster deficiencies, whatever. There's something about the team itself that's interesting in this case. We'll see here, and as Chris Berman always says, that's why they play the games. All right, let them Patriots get the views up so WGR can hire Steve. That would be interesting. In fact, my real dream, of course, is to be the radio voice of the Buffalo Bills, emulating to the extent possible the great Van Miller. And I've met Eric Wood. It'd be great working with him. But Chris Brown has been doing the play-by-play. He's good. He's good. He gets excited and so forth. And he's had some exciting games to call. Let's see, we're praying for Gavin again and letting him drink here. All right. I'd like to see Allen run more today. Teams cannot stop him at all once he passes the defense's front line. He's just got to hold on to the ball and not hold on to it like a loaf of bread. Well, he's been hanging on to the ball, all right. And a lot of course, what that's going to come down to is how the Patriots plan on playing the Bills. If you've got situations where they are trying to get more pressure and are playing a man situation on the back end, well, what happens in man coverage is the defender is looking at the receiver rather than being sitting in a zone and looking back at the quarterback. So in a man situation, when the defensive backs are turned to the quarterback, this is where Josh can ramble, and you could have taken a platoon of tanks through that side of the field last week when he pulled that off on the 43-yard dash to the end zone versus the Bengals. Billy the Buffalo, I want to watch you and see Uncle Rivers play after the Bills win today. Yeah, I guess the one comment that's come out is now Aaron Rodgers is happy he's no longer the oldest guy in the NFL. Phillip Rivers, man, that would be interesting because Rivers is an Iron Man, great quarterback. He would love to see him win. Yes, that would be pretty cool, and it'd be nice to see the Colts not falling off so much to try to cannibalize things a little bit. We want to be able to, my only concern, other than the Bills actually getting into the playoffs, is that you want to win out, because if you win out, you will stay a game, excuse me, in front of the Texans and would not have to visit there. That was badass merch. You would love to see him win. Tory 71, Bills fans are very knowledgeable. Sometimes the negativity comes from the 13 seconds game. McDermott will never live it down until we win a Super Bowl. And that's true. That's very true. Badass merchandise is replying, I'm 49. I think every guy in their 40s are rooting for him. Yes. You know, the same thing even in golf when we get away from football. Yeah, let the old guys go out and kick ass. Kick ass and take names. Is it snowing in New England? Yes, it is. Klepto, the thief, is in the house. Okay, here's another. This is from a Patriots fan commenting on the video from Thursday. 28 Pats, 17 Bills. Actually, you normally put the name of the team before the point. EOS. End of story, I guess he's trying to say there. Interesting stuff. Back to the radar here. And we're getting another look here. Yeah, it's definitely, there's a little lighter area now, but it's moving through. And this is kind of like a storm that's just moving up the coast, and but it's moving off to the west a little bit too. It's kind of what we're looking at here. That's not even in focus, but all that white stuff is snow. And perhaps some of it is Patriots fans changing allegiance, and they have on a lot of road Bills jerseys, perhaps white, you know. But yes, it is. Hopefully Cook will have better success this second game and stop fumbling. The Pats had their running backs wear number 4, and they were practicing stripping the ball. Could be a big game for PA passes to play action, of course, to tight ends and running backs. And it absolutely could, especially, and that sets up similarly to what we had last week, where you've got, two long and athletic corners for the Patriots. And but the other thing we have to consider here is Josh Palmer could be also another difference today for the Bills that they did not have last week. Billy the Buffalo here, number 34, 58 here, and rooting for him. Absolutely. I just found your channel the other day. How did you become a Bills fan, brother? Well, actually just sort of born and raised. It was back when they were playing in the Rock Pile. In fact, I did see one game in the Rock Pile. It was in 1972, and it was the Buffalo Bills hosting the San Francisco 49ers. I was just a little kid, but I made a bet with a guy that we were riding up on this bus with to go to the game, that the Bills would win. Bastard never paid me, but the Bills did win. O.J. Simpson had a good game, and that was my first time at a pro football game, at the Rock Pile. I think we were down in the south end zone seats. And in fact, San Francisco 49ers quarterback John Hadel was injured during the game, and he was replaced by none other than Steve Spurrier. You'll remember him from being the longtime coach of the Florida Gators. But yes, Spurrier was in the NFL. They should fire Beanface and hire Steve as the GM. Bet you can light a fire under McDermott's ass. Well, I don't know if that's the GM's ass, the GM to light a fire under him, but it would. I'll be happy to come in and have conversations with them whenever they choose to do so. Again, it's about attitude. It's about attitude today. But I think we've been seeing it recently. I can't say for sure whether McDermott is one of these strange YouTube handles, actually a fan of the show and has been listening. But the team's got to take on his personality and, talk to some guys and, get them worked up. Get them going. Huge game. If the Pats win, it's 12-2, while Buffalo's 9-5. If Buff wins, it goes 10-4, and Pats 11-3. Yes, indeed. And then, if that's the case, if you have the Patriots then losing another game in addition to that, say to the Dolphins, and they end up with 5 losses, if the actually that would give them 4, and Buffalo would also have 4. That would be a tiebreaker situation. If that turns out that way, well, of course, the first tiebreaker doesn't work head-to-head because they would have split the games. And the second tiebreaker, I think, would end up being the fact that it's probably going to be the case, and it depends on who the Patriots might lose to if they do, because there's 2 division games to end it for them, and another division loss would make the change. But in that case, if you got them 2 losses, the Patriots that is, and the Bills went out, the Bills would win the division. Otherwise, that third tiebreaker comes down to the record against common opponents, and of course the Bills lost to Atlanta would play into that. But we'll see what happens here. Again, that's why I'm going to play the games. I was born into Bills fandom. My dad, uncles, and both grandpas. I want to be in the Wills. Yeah. And same thing here. Just when you grow up in the area, and of course it's interesting for Bills fans because there's a lot of people that are Sabres fans, but of course hockey is not really one of it's one of the big 4, but not the big 3 sports. Well, the thing is, in Buffalo, you've never really had baseball. There's the Bisons, but that's minor league. They're very popular. And then in terms of basketball, at one time had the Buffalo Braves that they moved away a long, long time ago. So it's definitely a football town for sure. Got to go, Bills. They want to close the gap and win that division. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, today's job is just to go 1-0. We are now 15 minutes from getting the inactives. Evans got juked by a 42-year-old Brady. He's a solid linebacker, but nothing special. He was big, great wingspan and so forth. I don't know how much of a thumper he is. You want somebody who's a terror back there. Shaq Thompson is, well, it's definitely a good thing we have Shaq Thompson today. And Patriots will be running Travion Henderson and to a lesser extent Ramondre Stevenson. But we'll see how the Patriots do running the ball today. Vegas has the 2.5 spread perfect, in my opinion. It's going to come down to a last-second field goal. And, of course, when Vegas does lines, they're giving a point differential, essentially, that they're looking at. But the whole idea of lines is not really predicting how they think the game will turn out. The idea of lines is to try to get equal amounts of money spent on both sides of the bet. And I mean, you've got some factors here. It's tough to win against a division opponent twice in a season. And, the Bills are down 1 on that. So we'll see. We'll see. But the spread might bear that out. Speaking of smoking cigars, what's your favorite stick? Oh, I don't smoke any tobacco at all, but Fat Bottom Betty by Drew Estate kind of costs it 18 clams a stick. The flavors are God's here. Give them a try at least once. Well, if I do that, I'll just going through a podcast like this. I used to be have interest in organic refreshment, although the effects of that on voice quality and so forth precluded continuing it. So I chose this route instead of being able to speak clearly, although I'm hacking this morning. Gavin is in an abusive relationship, and I trust that's not because he's a Bills fan. I don't drink. I do the other thing. But still, cheers, buddy. Yep. Organic refreshment. Talk that up. Max, Trey White got to show up. Go Bills. Yeah, and Trey White is actually quietly had a good season. He's you know, he got lost a little bit, but we were talking about Chase and Higgins last week, and Diggs and Matt Collins have been good. Even Hunter Henry, but they are not Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Mike Gesicki that the Bills faced last week. Let James Cook go Bills. Big Hollywood O gracing us this morning. It's a good day to end a streak. Indeed it is. Brent's with us. At least the red helmets will mean something, though. And by red helmets, I'm wondering if you were... Are the Patriots wearing something different today? I got to check that out. Uniforms. This is week 15, right? Let's see. Oh, it's got both of them here. So I'm looking at both the, if we can get it actually. All right, there's the Bills, of course, as we know. They're not showing the, oh, there it is. Yeah, there it is. The Patriots will be in all blues today. That's a mistake for them. They're sort of matching the Bills for the pants, but they'll be in their dark jerseys. Bills in the white, their road white tops. Steve, we never had any type of therapy for all the pain the Bills cause us. No, we didn't. And that needed to be the case. It really did. We needed to have that sort of thing in place. A little cool up here at the studio for us, and we never did. We never had the support they have today. We were just left to languish in our emotional doldrums, which resulted in addictive personalities and lives changed by this football team, certainly. But it puts us in a special position to be definitely deserving of the glory when it does come. Brent is saying, I was hoping we would bring back the throwbacks against Miami. I was going to mess with the color on the TV and make my dad, little Alzheimer's starting, all confused, asking why Kelly is wearing 17. And I say, well, that would be the red helmets business also. But you don't even need to alter the color. If you recall, when they started the NFL, that is the color rush games, where you had these teams, and in this case, it was the Bills in all red, and they played the Jets in all green. It was on a Thursday night. I remember this. I was playing with a band at that point, and out doing a gig that night. The game comes on, and one of the TVs is black and white, and you cannot tell the difference between the teams. And it turns out that if you're colorblind, you can't, in common forms of colorblindness, you can't distinguish between green and red. So, color rush. The only thing worse than inventing color rush was these rivalry uniforms. The fact that us fans put unreal expectations on the team is a factor as well. JD LESCHW. It sounds like the sound I want to shout when they hit May really hard today. But, unreal. I don't know. We've got a team that's been knocking at this door now for years. And I'm sorry, once you win a Super Bowl or a few, that hunger just has to change somehow. And I believe that the Eagles put a dent in the Chiefs in the last Super Bowl, and those dents became more obvious this season. But unreal expectations. I think they're actually, there's a national narrative going that the Bills might be the team to call the favorite for the Super Bowl. And if for nothing else, who in the hell wants to play Josh Allen? I guess the rumor of Haley being pregnant is true. Today, Josh Allen will be New England's daddy. 240 plus yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 2 passing, 1 rushing. Prediction: Bills 30-27. Yes, we'd heard that, and that will definitely have to be an inspiration for number 17. If we completely dismantle the Pats, that's some good therapy for now. That is a fact. As fans, we invest our lives into the team. We hand over to the team an uncarryable emotional burden onto a team in a way that no other fan base does, resulting in a heavy weight. That's valid. I agree with that. And the team feels some of that. And on one hand, you could say, okay, the team, wasn't there for those items. They weren't there for those tough losses and so forth in that history of the Super Bowls. But even now, there's a history of these playoff exits that's been building up that perhaps, okay, there is a feeling on the team itself of having to get this done. Badass merch. Paul Chandler agreeing to start our streak to reclaim the AFC East. Indeed. Cecil McDowell is in the house. Number 1 seed is not happening. Unfortunately, ESPN gives the Bills a 4% chance of getting the number 1 seed. The best we can hope for is the division. If the Bills win out, the Pats lose to the Dolphins or the Jets or both. And quite frankly, they got to go play the Ravens also. And I think the Ravens are still the Ravens. That's going to be an interesting situation for New England, with basically finishing out their slate with 3 division games and then a trip to Baltimore. Big dog, so you're saying there's a chance. Well, yeah, 4% chance. Question: I think the best Bills team was the Music City team. Hard to say. They, I don't know. If you're playing Flutie that day, that was a painful one, though. Rivers' situation is crazy. He's been on the couch for 5 years and taking the field at 44. And I heard he's had like 7 or 8 more kids since he retired. No, that's not true. He's got 6. And he's been coaching high school football and doing great. And, guy's a gamer, though. It should be interesting. No one is talking about the reality that New England may put belt to ass on us today. If they get their offense moving, we've got to keep up, but can we? This ain't the Bengals D. We better be prepared. Well, I don't think the Bengals defense was actually that bad. They have been having some better games of recent. And I just don't see them putting the belt to ass on Buffalo today. No, I don't see it. I don't see it. This is December. The Bills know what's at stake. But like they say, that's why they play the games. I would like us to win out, but we might need to drop the Eagles game so we can run to this championship. Well, and it's hard to say. The Eagles are in freaking free fall right now. I mean, talk about a team falling apart. I mean, Jalen Hurts is really good, but on a very narrow sort of, I don't know. It has to be a narrow set of circumstances for him. In the glory days back in 92, the Bills went into the playoffs with Kelly and Thomas banged up. They made the miracle comeback against the Oilers, took out Pittsburgh and Miami on the road. Go Bills. Absolutely correct. And you never know. It might be a road, the road the Bills have to travel to get to the Super Bowl rather than doing so at home. Pats D are missing key players they had in week 5. Yeah, absolutely. That's, Milton Williams is a huge one. Harold Landry is dinged. And now Robert Spillane has got something going on. That's important. Bills winning. New England last place in the red zone. That's absolutely correct. They have allowed more red zone success than any other team. And Drake May, to me, I've seen the flaws, the inaccuracies, and so forth. It's going to be a different sort of situation today, I believe. They're coming off a bye as well. Have a great coach riding momentum at home. Well, getting all our worries out of the way. Paul D, going to games since OJ days, the rock pile. There you go, my brother. I hear that. No stopping Josh from Paul D. Edmonds came up short. Perfect body, 10-cent brain. Yeah, well, yeah, go Pat. So, yeah, well, I don't know. Somebody lets them in. I don't know who. No way, 12-2. No. Bills winning today. Yep. 100%. But indeed, now I must take a look because it is, in fact, time for the inactives. And let me get over to a what the hell did I do with it? I got to open a oh, that's why. I got to go right over here. Let's go over to X and here we go. Bills inactives versus Patriots. Wide receiver, Gabe Davis. Interesting. Offensive tackle, Tylen Grable. Offensive tackle, Chase Lunt. Defensive tackle, Fedarian Mathis. Linebacker, Terrell Bernard. Cornerback, Christian Benford / Dane Jackson. Now, I don't know how they can actually say that. And Darnell Savage also. Now, what are they saying in the next thing? They got, or the next one is calling out from Chris Brown, who's actually saying Benford will be inactive. That Dane Jackson has been activated, and that means Dane will be a backup, and we will have Max Hairston and Trey White in the backfield. But without saying it in the actual list, that does mean that Joshua Palmer is up today. So there's our inactives for the day. Glad I caught your show today. Missed last week. Like I said, Bills 31, Pats 28. Thank you, Jason. Mr. Bush is in the house. I believe him to be right. Josh owns them. If the Jets, Ravens, and Finns do their job, we can win the division. But it's our fault. We should have handled their business. It's our fault. One thing I know about the league is you got to do your job. Well, that's true. It's interesting. A couple of the games the Bills, did lose. That Atlanta one is a head scratcher. Oh, get off our screen. 93 turnovers, 11 penalties, and lost by 3. Well, the Patriots need to be handed a lot in order to actually lose. Read the numbers. Yeah, right, pal. Stopping Josh. Yeah, laughing out loud for sure. Just spent 16 grand on a new furnace. I'm in a bad mood. Need a Bills win to put me back in a good mood. That's a huge reason. That's a huge reason. Hell, you could have gotten a couple of PSLs from the new stadium for that. Josh only stops Josh. We need the ghost of Mr. Wilson. Well, I am the Ralph. How's the weather today? It's snowy. Another snow globe, perhaps. Eddie Haskell snowing presently in Foxborough, no wind, 30 degrees. Love the snow. Love the snow. Yeah, Bills play well in snow globes. Sounds like a few undercover Patriots fans in here playing as Bills fans. Yeah, they think they're undercover. Hey, Ralph, how do you feel about the Bills getting the 5 seed to possibly play Pittsburgh in round 1, beating the Pats, and then getting the 1 or 2 seed would be great, but seems unlikely. You know, it hasn't happened in a long time, but hell, they could be a 5 seed and end up hosting a divisional or the title game. But visiting the Patriots doesn't really scare me. Visiting the Chargers doesn't really scare me. Visiting Jacksonville doesn't really scare me. You'd have to think a little bit, perhaps, about going to Houston, although, again, it's hard to beat a team twice. Houston's done that once. They're not going to be able to pull that off again. Who would you say is better from a non-biased standpoint, Lamar or Josh? And do you think Josh deserved the MVP more than Lamar last year? Well, that's hard to say, but I think Josh has a lot more emotional fortitude than Lamar. I believe that Lamar is extremely talented for sure, but I think Josh just has a command of it. But let's hope, and let's definitely hope that Lamar discovers it all back again when they host the Patriots. New England isn't a juggernaut. They've been beating up tomato cans mostly and barely beat us by a field goal, and we turned it over 3 teams and had those shitty uniforms. You heard it from Donald Ohina, and, of course, you heard it from me also. Steve, we need a way to get the Patriots fans out of the chat. Eddie Paulson and on his bullshit to go to your team channel and suck them. Go to your team channel and suck them. Yeah, right. Now, I mean, why is he paying attention to us rather than their own guys? Or I don't know. Maybe they don't have anything like the Ralph in their town. I heard they were doing tackling drills in practice on Thursday. Maybe they need to lighten up at practice since guys keep getting injured this year. I'm not sure. We have not heard how he actually got hurt. Benford, that is. I'm just praying we don't need to resort to screen passes every other play. That's my one wish. It never seems to work. Well, if they throw another couple of screens to tight ends like they did with Kincaid, that worked pretty well. To be fair, if there's snow, advantage Josh, the winter soldier. Hey, Ralph, any word yet on who's playing and who is not? Yeah, we just had the inactives out, and it looks like inactives, we've got Terrell Bernard, Gabe Davis, Darnell Savage, Christian Benford, Tylen Grable, Federian Mathis, and Chase Lunt, meaning that Dane Jackson's elevation will be in place, and he'll be there as a backup for either Max Hairston or Trey White. So that's the end of our comments here. We are an hour and 37 in here and approaching noontime. I'm not going to keep you guys too long today. A lot of this was a rehash, but we will certainly here go over If I can get back to them here. And I'm still looking for them. Ah, yes, here we go. And that would be our reasons for the Bills winning today. I don't think anything would happen to Gabe. I don't think anything happened to him. I think they've got Keon Coleman going, and that's the switch off there. Hopefully that's effective for the Bills. Paul Chandler, go Bills. Cheaters never prosper. I mean, Tom Shady and Bill Belichick. Nice seeing you guys. Oop, I missed that a little bit. Nice seeing you, Ralph. Go Bills. Go Bills. And go Bills. Go Bills. So again, reasons counting down from 10 to 1, since there's a couple of Patriots fans on here. Number 10, why would the Bills win today? The Bills are not wearing their shitty rivalry uniforms, which threw them off their feed even more than they were last time, early in the season, Game 5. Number 9, the Bills are a far more battle-tested team. Very true. Number 8, this game has more numerical importance to the Bills than the Patriots. Indeed, the Patriots are probably going to make the playoffs with 11 wins as they are right now. The Bills need to get to those 11 wins. Number 7, the Patriots have injured and missing defensive starters. Milton Williams is out. Terrell Jennings, their running back, is out. Harold Landry, the linebacker, has a knee issue. Vidarian Lowe, the replacement for Will Campbell on the offensive side for the Patriots, has an abdominal strain. He was limited earlier in the week. And then, of course, you've got Robert Spillane now coming up with an injury during the week. And in fact, we should be able to actually find out the Patriots inactives, if we can find that. Here they are. Marcus Bryant, Efton Chisholm, Tommy DeVito, C.J. Dupre, Eric Gregory, Braden Swinson. So none of those guys are down. The only ones that aren't there, of course, are the guys that are on IR, like we mentioned before, Will Campbell and Milton Williams. Let's get the rest of your comments in here. Another Go Bills. Josh, if we win the turnover battle, we win. That's Josh Hill on 364. Paul Chandler, once a cheat, always a cheater. Right. Aloha, gang. JB, nice to have you in the house. Pat's Nation, not nice to have you in the house. See you tonight for the Ralph Victory postgame show. Let's go, Buffalo. Yeah, guys, figure that about 7:15, somewhere shortly after the start of football night in America. And then we'll get all that in prior to the start of Sunday Night Football. Tom gets back, we good. Hey, Ralph, the key to the game for the Bills is 2 words: pass rush. Indeed it is. Don't read Pat's comment. Yeah, I know. I just go through them, and I finally figured out, who the hell these guys are. But listen, if they're on this channel, if they're watching this show, they're fucking worried. Trust me. Trust me. But it's time to sign off here this morning. I'm going to get some more coffee, grab some breakfast, maybe destroy some sausage patsies. No, it's the Patriots, not patsies. Sorry. But I'll see you tonight for the post game. Until then, be good, do good. God bless. And go Bills. They're going to win today. I've told you why. Now let's go and watch it. The Ralph Rant out. See you later.